and welcome to the Terry White Tech Blog. My name is Terry White, and it's my pleasure to show you what's new in iOS 9, and more importantly, what didn't Apple show us, aka hidden gems. Those kinds of little features that are important, but not flashy enough or important enough to make it to the keynote, so therefore it's not something Apple highlighted, but you'll enjoy them nonetheless. And these are also the kind of little hidden things that you probably wouldn't discover for a while without watching a video just like this. So you're going to get a head start on those new things. We're going to start off with the home screen when it's on the lock screen, actually, just to show you just a minor change in the font. So I'm going to go ahead and lock my phone, and I'm going to wake it up. And you'll notice, and again, this is kind of a designer feature, the font has changed. Apple has switched from Helvetica to a font called San Francisco. So now I'm going to use Touch ID and just go ahead and go right in. And now we'll go to the next feature. When I swipe down, just grabbing the screen and swiping down, you'll notice that I get the search, but right off the bat, Siri's offering me app suggestions. These are apps I was recently in, and it's saying, hey, you might want to launch that app you were just in again. But more importantly, when I type in a search, that search now includes more kinds of results. So for example, let's say I type in the word coffee. Well, I'm going to get my friend who has her last name is Coffee, and I'm going to get coffee that's in the form of music or songs. I'm going to get coffee houses on the Maps app, which I can navigate to. I'm going to get a delivery notification where I ordered some coffee, and even then, last but not least, some suggested websites. Now that's cool. That's a common thing that you might type in, but it goes further than that. For example, what if I type in Lions? I'm originally from Detroit. If I type in Lions, it thinks, well, wait, maybe you just want to know the score of the last game, where, in typical fashion, the Lions lost. But anyway, that's another story. So it's showing me the last game where they lost against the Chargers, and it was a close game, 28-33, so we won't fault them too much for that. And then, of course, it starts going into other things that have to do with Lions. But since it picked that up as a sports team, it got that right off the bat. If I type in weather, well, I have weather apps, but it says, hey, you're in Georgia. Let's show you the weather for where you are right now. So the search is just going to be more useful and more like Spotlight on your Mac. Whereas when it searches your entire device, and then it searches outside the device as well on the internet. So you'll enjoy the new Spotlight search. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to pop over to the productivity section I have on my phone where I keep the Notes app. Your Notes app is there, but it's just maybe in a different place. You'll have to find it on your phone. And of course, you could search for Notes and find the app. Well, the Notes app has got a major makeover. So when we go to Notes, and here we'll dive out of the note we were just in, we'll create a new note. And when we create that new note, of course, before the Notes app was just about text. So I could type in things like the new iPhone 6S. Okay, that's cool. But then I'll go ahead and swipe or go return down a couple lines, and you'll notice that there's a plus sign. The plus sign lets me add other types of things. So for example, even though there is a to-do or a list app where you can have to-do items in it, you can actually make just simple checklist right in the Notes app. So if I go ahead and type a little check mark, I can say, watch the keynote. All right, let's do that properly. Watch the keynote. And there we go. And next, order, I just hit return, order the iPhone. Okay, and so forth and so on. If I hit return twice, it knows to get out of the Notes app. Now you'll see that I can get back to text. I can also insert a photo. So for example, if I go to my photo library or take a photo, we'll take a photo, for example. We'll just point it right at the screen here where my website is. I'll take that photo, and once I take the photo, I say use this photo. it will then add that photo right into the Notes app. And of course, I can keep going. I can hit return a couple more times. And this is pretty cool for people that like to just jot something down or sketch something out that's easier to draw than it is to type. You get the little squiggly sign on the right where you get a full-blown sketch app built right into the Notes. So I can draw my best drawing here, and although I like design, you can tell I'm not an artist. All right, but anyway, there's my stick person that looks like they need spinal surgery. But there you are. I say done, and now my stick figure is there. So pretty cool to get these new options in the Notes app. And if you're in another app, so let's go back to the home screen here. Let's say I go to the Maps app, for example. Let's find it here. I keep it buried in my navigations folder, but there it is. There's the Maps app. And let's say I type in, by the way, we're going to get to this, but notice the Maps app is giving me all kinds of cool suggestions now. Let's say I type in Apple Store. Okay, there's the Apple Store I want. And now, and it's a 34-minute drive at this time of day, but now if I go ahead and tap the share button in the upper right-hand corner, you'll notice that I can share to a note. So a note can include other things besides just what you can put in it directly in the Notes app. So I can say, for example, I'm going to go buy it from there, or pick it up from there after I order it. So I've saved the map to the note. So if we go back, we double tap the home button. That'll take us, by the way, the new multitasking. Looks like this now, but we'll go back to this one. And there's the map inside the note at the bottom. So any website, email, something like that, anything that you can share, most likely is fair game to share to a note. So if you go collect things from other apps, you can build up a nice note of all the things you want it, from text to checklists to photos to sketches to maps and websites. So it also works great from Safari. All right, so that's the Notes app. We're going to get out of that for now. May come back to it later, may not. I'm going to swipe all the way over, only because I haven't organized this yet. But you'll notice there are two new apps there at the end. We'll get to each one, but we're going to start with iCloud Drive, and News is the next one. Both of those are brand new iOS 9 apps. So the first one, iCloud Drive. Let's go back out. This is something that has been so needed for so long, since Apple has really been using iCloud or had iCloud as a service. So in the last update in iOS 8 and Mac OS, we kind of got the ability in Mac OS, in the latest version, Yosemite, to have a sidebar item that says iCloud Drive. And you can go in there and you can make folders. It's a folder itself. And of course, it syncs to iCloud. But you really didn't have a direct way to access that content on your mobile devices unless you did it from an app that could see iCloud Drive. Well, now you have an iCloud Drive app, very similar to a Dropbox-like app, where you can go in, for example, there's the pictures folder that I created, not Apple. I created that pictures folder and I put 4 pictures in it on my computer. So now those 4 pictures are here, and we'll tap on one of them. That's the Marriott Marquis in Atlanta looking up from the inside. Looks like a spacecraft. But anyway, that photo is here for me to now do whatever I want. I can share it. I can open it up in another app on my mobile device, work on it, so forth and so on. So now I have access to those folders just as an app without having to access them from within another app. So if I want to copy things from my computer onto my iPhone, onto my iPad, now one of the easiest ways to do it is just simply copy it or drag it into the iCloud folder on your computer, on your Mac, and that way you'll have it automatically synced and be there on your iOS devices. Okay, next up, now Mail. We use Mail all the time, of course. I'm in Mail here, and I'm in my Gmail account. I have multiple accounts, but for example, let's say I go to create a new note, okay? Well, if I create the new note, I get the normal stuff that I would normally get. And if I come down here to where I would start typing the subject, or I'm sorry, start typing the body, so we'll call this body, so we know where we are. Now, of course, when you tap and hold, you get the bar that you always got for formatting and inserting a picture or photo. But now, the last item is new, add attachment. And guess where it's going to go look for those attachments? You guessed it, your iCloud folder. So if you put something in your iCloud folder on your computer, you want to not only get to it on your iOS devices, but also send that stuff to other people. It's now that much easier because I can go to that same pictures folder and grab a picture, that same picture, for example, that we just looked at, and incorporate it in the body of that message. And again, that picture originated by just me dragging it into the pictures folder that I made in the iClouds folder on my MacBook Pro. All right, gets better. Once the picture's there, this is brand new. This is classified as a hidden gem. One people that would never think about to look for. Hold your finger down on the picture. And when you let go, you get the same kind of bar, but you'll notice that there's a new markup option. And oh my God, I can now draw right on that attachment. And I can say, hey, what's this right here? Should that be in the picture? Or I can, of course, change the color. Let's change the color of purple. Hey, who's that guy? Terry White. So you can actually draw, mark up, change pictures. You can even add your signature and have that on the photo as well. So if I want the signature there, I can size it. I believe I can. Nope, I thought I could do this, but I can't. Okay, so I can size it, move it around, put it wherever I want on the actual attachment. So markup, very cool. And this is very reminiscent of markup in macOS. So in the Mail app, you can do the same kinds of things, and now that's made its way over to iOS. So once I say done, that markup has happened to that photo that I'm sending. It now has that stuff on it. So very cool to have that in the Mail app. All right, let's go to the Photos app next. There are some new hidden gems there as well. First thing we'll notice is there's a couple of new albums that got added. Notice my third album from the top is called Selfies. That's a brand new album. That's an automatically generated album that will automatically populate it with any images you take with the front-facing camera. So if you hold it up and take a selfie or take a group selfie or whatever, those will automatically be added to that album. Another new album is the screenshots album at the bottom there. It has 419 screenshots. So that's when I'm holding down the home button and the lock button at the same time. Takes a screenshot. You'll hear a little and it'll take the screenshot and now automatically add it to that album. So you don't have to sift through all your other photos to find your screenshots, or you don't have to sift through all your other photos to find the most important photos, which are those selfies. Now, when you go to an album that has a lot of photos and you tap on one, you now get this new little, and of course it's showing it to me as a slideshow, and that's because of the way I'm mirroring the app. But I'm going to just show it to you here. You'll notice that it gives you this little bar down at the bottom that shows me kind of all the selfies I have, and I can just quickly scrub through this little scrubber to find my favorite one. So that little scrubber bar at the bottom is brand new. And of course it's trying to display this as a slideshow here. So we're going to get out of it. But there, when you tap on a photo, there'll be a little scrubber bar so you can quickly get through all the photos in that particular album. All right, that's what's new in the Photos app. Let's go back to the Maps app. So I can just quickly get to it by swiping down. Now notice that there is a car next to the Apple Store on the left-hand side. It says it's going to take 34 minutes if I were to drive there. What's brand new in the Maps app is also by tap, I get driving directions and time, walking directions, which this will be a very long walk, and now public transit. So if you could take a bus, train, other public transportation, that would be listed in the transit. I already know that won't work for where I am. I don't have public transportation to get to that location. So it's just going to say can't find any. But note that you do have public transportation options if they're available for where you are and where you're trying to get to, you'll have them right there. All right, next, let's just simply type on our search here. We'll cancel this, clear this. We'll type on our search, and just note that you'll have these around me kind of options. So show me what's around me. So I just want to look for food, and it just pops up and starts showing me food nearby. If I want to go to fast food, it will show me fast food nearby and show me the map and the apps there. Here, let's go and let's say that we want to search for, let's search for transport. It will show me what kind of transport. So if I'm looking for airports or bus stops or gas stations. So now you have a much richer experience in the Maps app for trying to find the location of whatever it is you're trying to get to. Now, I haven't used Maps in OS 9. I just updated today. Hopefully, it's a lot better than it was years ago when people complained about Maps. It keeps getting better every update, and they update it constantly on the back end. So Maps, I think, has finally arrived, and especially with the transit stuff, is much more usable as a default built-in solution. Okay, so that's Maps, and now let's take a look at that other brand new app called News. Now, News, when you first launch it, it will ask you to pick news sources that you're interested in. So the only one that I picked by default was just CNN, just to get past the screen. This will show me stories that are from CNN and just pretty much stories from CNN. Then it'll start showing me other things I might like, so forth and so on. You can pick your favorites. You can save stories. So remember back in the days when we used to have an RSS reader, we had Google, RSS, and all these things. Well, this is what this technically is trying to do. It's becoming a default news reader. And the major news sites are there, and you'll be able to add other news sites as they come on board. I've even submitted my own terrywhite.com blog as a news source. So if that gets approved, you'll be able to just add Terry White and you'll see the stories and blog posts as part of your regular news feed. So that's the News app, brand new. And let's go back to the home screen. And you'll notice that in the very bottom right-hand corner, there's a new app called, well, actually not a new app. It's the same app. It's been renamed. Passbook has been renamed to Wallet. And I heard people say, oh my God, it's a much better name. I actually like Passbook, but okay, I guess I was by myself. The Wallet app will show you your Apple Pay cards that you've set up, as well as any discount cards, loyalty cards, so forth and so on. So that is the new Wallet app. Nothing really new about what it does. It's just Passbook renamed. Okay, so moving along. Let's, by the way, there is one more new thing about the Wallet app. If you hadn't set up your mobile device yet, if you hadn't set up your iPhone or iPad, as you know, when you set it up, it asks you to, pick a 4-digit PIN to lock it with. And if you haven't done that, I can't believe it, but I highly recommend you lock your device with a PIN. And I will say one thing has changed. For new users that go to do that for the first time, it will now default to a 6-digit PIN, making it more secure, 10 million possibilities, as opposed to a 4-digit PIN, which was thousands of possibilities. So millions versus thousands. So more secure, default PIN, and I'm sure if you go in to change your PIN now, you can pick the safer 6-digit one, and I will most likely do that myself. And by the way, I want to turn off notifications while we're here recording, just so I don't have any weird things popping up while we're doing this. All right, so that, by the way, that was swiping up from the bottom, and that little half moon is, when it's enabled, my notifications will not show up until I turn that back off. All right, speaking of swiping up, that was the control panel. Swiping down from the very top. Now, so this is one that I sometimes mess up myself. I want to search. That's swiping from anywhere in the middle of the screen. So that will bring up the search bar, okay? swiping from the very top of the screen will bring up the Today widget. And you'll notice there's a brand new Today widget called Batteries, installed by default or turned on by default. You can turn it off in the edit widgets at the very bottom. But cool thing is it's not only showing me the battery status of my iPhone, but it's also showing me the battery status of my Apple Watch. So I'm at 52% at near the end of the day. Not bad at all. I've yet to run the battery down in my Apple Watch, just in case you were wondering. Okay, so the new Today or the new Batteries widget in the Today function or the notifications function. Okay, let's take a look at the brand new back button. So for example, let's say I go to Facebook. And as you know, Facebook has a separate app called Messenger. So if I tap on Messenger, it takes me over to Messenger and it will show me all the messages I've done. But you'll notice on the left-hand side, or upper left corner, there's a back to Facebook button. That's not the Messenger back to Facebook button. That's the new iOS back button. So that will take me back to Facebook. What's cool about that is that works in multiple apps. So for example, let's say you're in Safari and you tap on something that takes you over to the Twitter app or takes you outside of Safari to another app. It remembers where it came from, and that back button will be in the upper left-hand corner so you can get back to Safari when you're done in the app that it took you to. All right, moving right along. Next, let's talk about something that's pretty simple, and you wouldn't notice it right off the bat. Unless it bothered you, then you would notice it. Let's go back to the Notes app, and just so I can have a place to type. Let's go here, and all right, you notice the keyboard? Well, the keyboard and the Shift key in the bottom left-hand corner is up, which means everything's in all caps. I didn't realize this until I discovered it as a gem, that even when you turn Shift off in the previous OSs, everything would still show in all caps, even though it would type lowercase. Well, now when you turn Shift off, your letters become lowercase, as you would expect them to be. So now there's no more trying to look at the Shift button to see if it's highlighted or not. You'll automatically know if you're typing lowercase before you begin typing or uppercase before you begin typing, because you've tapped the Shift and you can see the uppercase letter, or it's not in Shift and you can see the lowercase letters. So very cool. And there's some other keyboard options on the iPad that are even more significant. All right, so let's talk about Siri, or let's talk to Siri now. So I'm going to go back out, go to the home screen here, and a couple of new things. First of all, iOS 8 introduced the Hey Siri feature, and that feature was introduced if your iPhone was plugged in, you could say those words and it would bring up Siri. But the problem was anyone could say those words. So someone that knew I had an iPhone could walk by and say those words and Siri would get activated. Well, now when you go in to your general settings here, let's go up, general settings, and you go to Siri, which, by the way, in case you missed it, there's now a CarPlay setting there. So it helps people set up for CarPlay if you have CarPlay enabled cars. And now when you say allow Hey Siri, first of all, it still only works if your device is plugged into power. It will not work, as we heard rumor that it would work even if you weren't plugged in. But more importantly, it will be off now by default, even if you had it on before the update. When you go to turn it back on, it will now take you through a training process where it learns your voice so that when you say the words, Hey Siri, it will activate knowing your voice. Hey Siri.
Here are the Siri voice settings.
And it took me right back. Cool. All right, so it will know your voice in particular, so someone else can't walk up to your phone and say those words, and it will activate Siri. All right, so with that, let's get into a few new Siri things besides the new Hey Siri. Siri's just smarter and can just do more. For example, a friend of mine texted me, said he's going to be in my area on October 24th and asked me, am I available? I don't know off the top of my head. Of course, I'd have to look at my calendar. So I had just updated. So I decided to say something like, hey Siri, what's on my calendar for October 24th?
October 21st, 2015. You have an all-day appointment. Photo plus East. October 24th, 2015. You have an all-day appointment. Simog Aldas's birthday. That's all I got.
Okay. So apparently I don't really have an appointment. It's just someone's birthday that day. And it showed me the next closest appointment that I have on the 21st. So I could now say, tell Jason Likens that I'm available on October 24th.
Ready to send it?
All right. And I could hit send and he would get that text message. All right. So it's still listening. So I could hit send or tell Siri to send it and he would get that text message. So very cool to be able to have it just do more of the personal assistant kinds of things that you would want it to do. All right, let's do one more, or actually two more. Hey Siri, show me my photos from May 2015. All right, yeah, and I messed that up, so let's try it again. Hey Siri, show me my photos from May 2015. There we go. So it heard what I said, and it was smart enough to go not only just bring up the Photos app, but take me to the photos starting with the first ones I took in May. And then I could scroll down and see the rest. So just Siri getting smarter. All right, let's do one more. And this one's kind of new as well. I haven't tested it yet to figure out if it's just Bluetooth or CarPlay only. But for example, remind me to log my mileage when I get in a car.
1 sec. Here's your reminder for the next time you get in the car.
See the difference? When I said get in the car, it actually put it as a reminder for getting in the car. In other words, when Siri, when my phone realizes I'm connected to my car, that's when that to-do or reminder would come up. So again, I don't know if it's all car Bluetooth systems. When it sees it's on your car, it knows, or if it's only CarPlay enabled. But since I haven't set up CarPlay, I'm thinking this might work just because my car has Bluetooth in it. We'll have to come back and test that. I'm going to remove it for now.
You want to delete this ring?
Yes, I'm sure.
I deleted it.
And I'll go remove the other one later. That was just a generic reminder. All right. Here's another kind of cool setting. Yeah, well, we all have been there before when we get down to low power, right? You're running out of juice. Your iPhone starts warning you when you get around 20%. Now, if I could find it here. Oh, speaking of which, speaking of finding here, there's swiped all the way down and you notice there's a new search option. So sometimes I can't remember where things are in settings. So now I can just type battery and it takes me right to battery, which is what I was trying to get to. So I kind of covered two there. Hidden gem, swipe the settings down to get to the search bar. And number two, this is brand new. You'll notice that there is a low power mode. Now you could turn it on yourself, but it will automatically kick on at 20% power. And what this will do is temporarily turn off all the stuff that it can turn off that normally drains power that you may not need running. So for example, it'll turn off fetching email in the background. It'll turn off app refresh and automatic downloads and some visual effects. Basically to get you as much more juice as possible. And Apple rates this as getting you at least another hour of use out of your phone without having to quickly run and plug it in. While we're here, you'll notice at the very bottom, it's showing me apps that are using power and how much power they're using. I'm a Periscope user. I broadcast all the time. And Periscope is using, in the last 4 hours, used 29% of battery when I was running it. So that's a battery hog. Remember that. All right, so battery, very cool, and searching your settings to get to the settings here. Let me quickly look at my notes, see if anything I'm missing, and yes, settings has a search. That was on the next page of my notes. Let's go in and let's go back to notes one more time just so we'll have somewhere to type. And when you bring up your emoji keyboard, and I haven't found them all yet, and there's actually more coming in iOS 9.1, which is the next update coming. But there in OS 9, there are more emojis, and I'm thinking there's some around the food category, because some of these I don't remember. And just look for more emojis. There's more emojis there than there were in iOS 8. All right, so I'm going to switch back to the regular keyboard for that. And let's see. Here's a very cool one. We got two cool ones for Safari, and they're hidden gems. So let's go to Safari. And I went to Bank of America to show two of these hidden gems. So notice that Bank of America, very nice. They're presenting me with a nice mobile web version of their site. I know that's not the desktop version because the desktop version has more stuff on it, it's wider, so forth and so on. And a lot of sites will do this. They will serve up the mobile version, and in this case, their mobile version's pretty good. But what if you get to that site where the mobile version isn't very good? And you end up with a site that just, you wished you could get to the desktop version. Now, there are all kinds of tricks to do that, but now Safari has a hidden gem built in to do it. All right, in the upper right-hand corner, a little curved arrow, that's your refresh button. Hold it down. When you hold down the refresh button, look at what you get. Request desktop site. And when you request desktop site, that will show you the desktop version of that site. Now, it doesn't work on all sites, and some sites are what we call responsive, and so there technically is no desktop version. But if there's a site that's hiding stuff that you need to access when you're on your phone or your iPad, you can actually get to that desktop version with that hidden gem. Here's another one. This is one I've run into all the time. Like when I stay at a Marriott, they serve up their receipts via a web page, basically, or an email that's web-based. But you can go to the web page and look at it. Well, now, when I need a PDF, I can tap the share button. And even though I've got apps that will do this now, but now it's built in, I can swipe all the way over, and you notice it says Save PDF to iBooks. It will generate a PDF of that website or web page and save it in the iBooks app, and you can, of course, open it up in other apps from there. But cool that it now has the ability to, in Safari, make PDFs from any web page that you happen to be on. Very cool. All right, so those are some hidden gems. And we're going to put the phone down for a second, and it may go off, and that's okay. And now we'll go to the iPad. I've got the iPad kind of just hanging out there in the background, waiting to be shown. Let's bring it over. Let's get the iPad and bring it over here. And there we go. Did a nice little refresh there to kind of show them both. And we've got the iPad here. Now, of course, because the iPad's a different device, Apple has some updates that are iPad specific. And depending on the model of iPad you have. So the current models are iPad Air 2 and just announced the iPad Mini 4 and iPad Pro. This feature works on the newest devices that have the faster processor. I'm not sure if it works on the iPad Mini, even the 4, but it definitely works on the iPad Air 2 and iPad Pro, and it's called split screen. So you notice we know that we can swipe down to bring up Today and swipe up to bring up the control panel. Well, now you can swipe from the right, if you have the right iPad, and bring up split view. Oops. Oh, and I'm sorry, it only happens when you're in an app. So otherwise you're swiping your pages, which we're going to show that tip as well. So let's say that I am, I don't know, let's say I'm in Microsoft Word. I've got Word here. Word was just updated today to have this feature. So I've got Word open. And now you'll notice that I swipe to the right And Twitter's there because Twitter was the last app I showed in the sidebar. So it's coming up slowly on the recording here, but there it is. And I could swipe down to get to all my apps that are sidebar compatible. So if an app is sidebar compatible, it will show its icons on the right-hand side, and you can tap to see those icons. And there it comes on the video there. So any of these apps, because they were updated, of course, Apple's apps were updated with iOS 9, but if it's a third-party app and it got sidebar or split screen support, it will work as well. So if you're working on an assignment in an app, Microsoft Word, for example, got updated, and you need to go check an email, you can swipe over and bring up your email. If you need to bring up a website, you can swipe and bring up a website. You need to bring up Twitter, you can bring up Twitter. So any apps, or in this case, PDF Expert works. So any apps that show up on the right-hand side have been updated to be iPad sidebar compatible, and several of them came out today. All right, so for example, we looked at Twitter. So if I bring up Safari, there's my website in Safari, and I can go in now and look at my website, copy information from it, paste it into the other bar, so forth and so on. So again, there's a little bit of a lag on the video. Here it comes. All right, and there's Safari. Now, if you swipe over more to the left, then what you will be in is split screen. So split screen will literally allow you to have two applications open at the same time so that you can work on both applications. So all I did was just first swipe the bar out a little bit, then swipe the bar out a little bit more, so that now I'm working on full screen, both apps at the same time. And of course I can just tap between them, copy, paste, work, write, look up stuff, whatever it is I'm trying to do. So that is the new split screen display. And you might say, well, why does that only work on the new iPads? Because it's horsepower driven, meaning that in the past, your iPad only ran one app at a time, even though it could have multiple apps open and switch back and forth between them. Technically, the one that was running in front was running. The other apps were suspended in the background. Now, with split screen, it is technically running two apps at the same time. So you need the fastest iPads to be able to do that. And again, I didn't make the rules. Apple did. Okay, so let's go. Let's tap on this, bring up the keyboard. And some things you'll notice right off the bat. You have an undo, redo, clipboard, bold, italic, underline. Those options, those little buttons on both sides of the keyboard at the top, those are brand new. So you can just, and that's just not a word feature. That's the new iPad keyboard. So it doesn't matter what app you're in, you'll get those features. But here's something that's pretty cool. If you put two fingers down anywhere, like on the keyboard, for example, it switches into this mode where you can make selections based on just using two fingers. So it kind of grayed out the keys and let me just hold down and then move one finger to do my selection and selection type work. I can also tap to hold down two fingers and then, let's see. Hold on, let's see if I can get this right. Oops, I'm typing now. Hold on. Oh, I used to do, okay, swiping will do it. And there's a double tap, double tap. So tap will select the word, double tap will select the entire sentence or paragraph. So, I don't know, I'm using my left hand, maybe that's why, but not working here. It was working earlier. I think it's just a gesture thing. Nope, undo. Undo. All right, but selecting, very cool to be able to do that gesture, holding down two fingers on that keyboard. All right, and last but not least, two more things and we're done. Number one, kind of like I just happened to notice it and I went, oh my God, thank God, finally. When you're in a folder on the iPad, you have more icons now. You're no longer limited to 9 icons. You can have 16 per window. So that will be a lot less swiping back and forth between multiple windows in the same folder. I can now have my 16 on-the-go apps ready at all times as opposed to having to swipe. And it bugged me from day one. It's like I had all that real estate on the iPad, and yet it was keeping that space away from me. So great to have that. And last but not least, we looked at split screen, we looked at the little pop-out window, and now you have picture in picture. So for example, if you're in an app, let's go to my videos app, for example. Oops. If you're in the videos app, when you bring up the videos app or any app that plays movies that's been updated, like the Hulu app got updated today, for example, and you're watching a movie, when you press the home button, that movie will go down to a little square and kind of play in the background while you work on other things. It'll still be in the front so you can see it, but you can bring up your email, bring up Safari, bring up another app, and that will just be a little window down in the right-hand side. Same thing for FaceTime. So if you're FaceTiming someone and you don't want to keep pausing them because you want to go work on something while you're listening or whatever, you can now just hit the home button like you would want to get out of the app, but instead of closing the app, it actually pulls the app down to a window, and you can close it from there if you want, but you can work on other things while that window is playing videos. All right, and with that, thanks for watching. Hope to catch you on the next one. Hope you learned something about iOS 9. I know after I discovered all this, I was much happier with iOS 9 just because I didn't think there was that much at first, and now I see there's a ton to be happy about. Take care, and we'll catch you on the next one.